Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of BVM Sports Chalk Talk. We are back on short notice to talk about Game 2 of the NBA Finals between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns. The Suns take a 2-0 lead in the series as it shifts back to Milwaukee. And Scott, let's hear your takes on how the series is turning out.
Yeah, Luke, another fun Game 2 these NBA Finals. And, Luke, I know I typically start the show off, and rightfully so, who wouldn't want to hear from me first? But I'd actually love to hear from either Matt, or you, Luke, first, since, you two both picked your Bucks to win Game 2. Just curious to hear your thoughts. What went wrong? Matt, you want to?
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead. I mean, it is first and foremost a make or miss league. The team that hits their shots tends to usually win. And when the Bucks lose games, whether it's been this year, last year, the year before that, it tends to be because some team is shooting an unbelievable percentage from three. That's what the Suns did last night. Above everything else that happened, this was still a 10-point game. And throughout the fourth quarter, the Bucks had opportunities to take this and make it either a tied game or take the lead if they had the opportunity to, but the Suns hit their shots. They shot 50% from three. Devin Booker always seemed to have a dagger, whether it was in the third quarter or early in the fourth. It always felt like his three-point shot was a dagger when it came. And you could see the Bucks every time that the Suns would make a shot, just kind of lose a little bit of that aggression or that momentum that they were trying to build up. That above everything else. Secondly, I mean, Giannis said it best in his press conference last night. He said, "We've been here before. We know what the deal is." And to that point, this is a lot better situation than what the Bucks found themselves in, the Eastern Conference semifinals when they lost by 40 to Brooklyn when Kyrie Irving was on the team and healthy and looking abysmal. I know no one expected the Bucks to even win a game back in Milwaukee. They come back, they win 2 at home, and then, the rest is history.
Man, how is this 2-0 hole better than the situation in the Eastern Conference semifinals?
I'll answer that.
Did the Bucks lose by 40 last night?
Right. And I would much
that's the
rather,
reason?
I would rather be playing.
Scott, I can literally remember you and half of the guys that we work with at BVM all thinking that it was over. The Bucks lost by 40 to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn. Who in their right mind thought the Bucks had anything going forward?
I was just simply asking. Like, you answered it. So
right, and I would much rather be playing. I would much rather be playing the Phoenix Suns than I would the Brooklyn Nets with, arguably a top 10 player all time in my opinion. The NBA's all-time best scorer in Kevin Durant. So anytime I'm going against a young guy who's been proving himself with Devin Booker, I'd rather take that. But go ahead, Matt.
And just to finish up, Chris Paul said it as well. They haven't done anything. They did what they were supposed to do. They defended home court. And although both games are won by double-digit scores of, I believe, 13 and 10 last night, they were very close games. And many times it felt like the Bucks were close to making that final push to either take the lead or tie it up, make it really close going late into the fourth quarter, and it just didn't happen for multiple reasons. The issues in Game 1 were not the same issues in Game 2, so eventually the Bucks at home will figure it all out and defend their home court. And like everyone always says, it's not a series until someone loses someone loses at home, and that's how I feel heading back to Milwaukee.
I got you, Matt. That makes a lot of sense. I expected you to say a lot of things that you did. And you're right about it's mostly a make or miss league. And, there was plenty of reason to believe that the Suns would shoot the ball better in Game 2 than they did in Game 1. You two told me the Suns played as good as they could of a game in Game 1. And that was something I completely rejected. And I think it's safe to say that we saw a better Phoenix Suns team in Game 2. I said no way that Phoenix was at its best in Game 1 with Devin Booker shooting 1 of 8 from 3. And lo and behold, he was 7 of 13 from 3. Absolutely sensational. Had multiple daggers, as you alluded to, Matt. Jay Crowder was better, which what I expected as well. He had a double-double after going scoreless in Game 1, and Luke saying that was the norm somehow. Mikal Bridges, again, was the
Well, before you keep going, it has been the norm all postseason. He had made single-digit amount of threes with over 50 attempts. So he had himself a good game. Every blind squirrel finds one. I'll let you go.
I don't believe this was his first good game of this postseason or last postseason, but like you said, we can move on. Mikal Bridges was the X factor, dropping 27 and 7, and Chris Paul was once again huge, coming up huge in the clutch, bucket after bucket. The Suns look like the better, more complete team for the second consecutive game, and it's why I believe they'll end up winning this series. But, I tweeted something similar to this last night, and I have to get this out there. Giannis Antetokounmpo was spectacular. He was so dominant, especially in that third quarter where he had 20 points in that quarter alone. And I almost felt bad for him at certain points last night. He's clearly not 100% hobbled with that knee still, and he's still giving it his all, putting his heart all on the court as he typically does, while Drew with a D and Chris with a C have been absolutely no help really through 2 games. Drew Holiday is shooting 31% from the field and 14% from 3 through 2 finals games. We saw Giannis during that first half, during a timeout, imploring his team and trying to get his team involved to give him something. When your best player is less than 100%, you should be able to count on your second and third best players to contribute more than 8 for 30 through 3 quarters, 12 with 37 from the field for the entire game. Milwaukee was +4 with Giannis on the court. They outscored the Suns with Giannis on the court, but were -27 in the 21 minutes that he sat through 2 games of these NBA Finals. The Bucks wasted a historical quarter and a game from Giannis Antetokounmpo in a game that honestly could have truly flipped this series if they were able to steal one in Phoenix. But, obviously we're headed back to game 3 where the series really begins, as you guys know. But what's up, Luke? Talk to me.
Yeah, the biggest issue for me is it's a lack of effort. And Scott, you had mentioned it, how Giannis was getting no help. There were multiple times last night where there were loose balls, and you saw Phoenix Suns on the floor putting their body on the line. You saw Giannis on the floor multiple times giving it his all, but not once did I see Chris Middleton or Drew Holiday or even PJ Tucker lay their body on the line. This is the NBA Finals. You cannot be doing that. There has to be clear effort. Your star on one leg is giving everything he's got, and you can't give it a little bit more than that. It's a little ridiculous, but I understand it when things aren't going your way. You're not knocking down jump shots. The rebounds aren't coming your way. Things just didn't go their way. The whistle, and it's hard to play with any energy and effort when things go that way. And I've been there before. That's just how it goes. But the number one thing for me was the 3-point disparity between the 2 teams was atrocious. And a lot of that, Matt, you had mentioned how, every year it's, this guy shot really well versus the Bucks. This guy shot really well versus the Bucks. At this point, it's not a fluke. It's part of the scheme.
Yes.
And which is the big issue. Every year we can say, this guy shot the lights out. But when it happens year after year after year after year, then it becomes,
Luke, thank you.
It's your defensive scheme, and that's the issue. There was too many miscommunications last night out of a timeout. Giannis was guarding Jay Crowder, and I believe it was Jay Crowder, and Chris Middleton was defending Devin Booker. Jay comes and sets the screen, and they both go on the screen guy, and Devin Booker has a wide open 3 at the top of the key. That was one of his many daggers that he hit last night. The knockout punch was the Milwaukee Bucks were down 5 points, and a 3-point attempt goes up. Offensive rebound for the Suns. Reload, another offensive rebound for the Suns. You can't give them 3 in a row. That third one goes, and that was basically that was it. But I think when you're playing against the Suns, you're playing against a 3-point shooter like Devin Booker, the biggest issue to me defensively was that they're not in his face. He hit some tough shots, but when he is the ball handler on the pick and roll and he's coming off of it, you need to get on that immediately. Hand in his face. You make him drive past you. You make him pick. You have to help your trust defense, but you do not let him just fire 3s up. You need to get out there immediately. You need to hedge it as hard as you can. There needs to be some sort of communication, because this guy is just busting them all night long. And they continue to do the same thing over and over and over, which was there's too many brain farts. If you give a shooter like that an inch of space, a second of a brain fart, he's going to make you pay. And he did all night long. And if they don't fix things, it's going to stay like that the rest of the series. Like you said, Giannis dominated the paint, and I expect him to do the same thing. There's no one in this series, no one in the league that can guard him. So if he gets a little bit of help, and we'll talk about this in the prediction stage, I really don't see the issue, because the changes that need to be made are so minimal. You just need to force the Suns to play a different way, and they haven't done that. It's not that hard. You put the ball in someone else's hands and make them beat you. Ayton last night was nowhere near. He wasn't even a shadow of what he was in game 1, and that was good. But then they let other guys like Devin Booker just take over. You need to force the ball out of their hands, keep it out of their hands. I know it's easier said than done, but these are NBA players. There's adjustments to be made, and I feel like we didn't see too much of that in that game.
And, going off of that, I think Milwaukee looked good in the beginning of this game. They came out aggressive. They were getting turnovers. Obviously, the three-point shooting really helped the Suns kind of weather that storm. And it just seemed like at the end, Milwaukee was a little gassed, whether it was Giannis or any one of those guys. Connaughton was obviously giving his all, so give him credit. But again, I point out that these past 2 games, it's been a different reason the Bucks have lost. The first game, it was clearly because, the defense had issues. The switching was not good. Brook Lopez was not able to defend those guys. They addressed that somewhat. I think they did better as far as handling the pick and roll situations in this game. And then the other thing was, Giannis was kind of, sheepish in game 1. He was completely the opposite in game 2. So it bodes well that they're not losing for the same reasons each game. And I think that's something to take away from it. And as far as Chris Middleton, the idea that you start calling him Chris with a C is ridiculous because –
No, it's not.
I'm sorry, did you watch game 1?
Yeah, I also watched multiple games this postseason where he's disappeared, where he's been – there's been
so not the games where he carried the team when Giannis was out and got them into the NBA Finals.
Yeah, man, this man is he's bipolar, to use a different term. You either get one Chris Middleton, typically playing at Pfizer Forum, where he has it all going and he's shooting the lights out, or you're going to get game 2 Chris Middleton, which again we've seen multiple times throughout this postseason and multiple postseasons in years past, where he doesn't have it, and it's an issue. And Luke knows it. He's referenced it recently. He already admitted before the series that if Giannis was unable to play, that Chris Middleton ain't that guy, to use the famous thing that the kids are using nowadays. You're not that guy, bud. He's all right. He's good. I love that you brought that up because I love this saying. I love that the Bucks saying is Chris Middleton is good. That's the thing that's going on in Bucks Twitter and whatnot, because that's absolutely true. Chris Middleton is good. Nothing more than that. He's not elite. He's not great. He's not a superstar, any of that. He's good. But
listen, in the first game, in game 1, Giannis wasn't going off. Middleton went off. He dropped 29 on 12 of 26 with five threes.
He was great.
He's the reason the Bucks were in game 1 and were able to mount a comeback after being down 20.
Matt, you're right, and I love Chris Middleton. Scott knows this. Everyone who knows me knows this. But that stuff is in the past. If you ask Chris Middleton right now, he's not hanging his hat on a game that he carried them to the finals. He wants to win the finals. And I know Chris Middleton more than anyone right now is pissed off at the way he's been playing. And he's got to fix it. And I think he will.
It's one game, though.
But it doesn't matter. It's not one game.
It's not one game. Stop saying that. It's not one game.
He's done it all postseason where he has a good one, but then he just offsets it with the clunker.
Literally.
And it's happened all postseason. So I need Chris Middleton to step up and show who he truly is, because when he plays like Chris with a K, he's incredible. He's one of the best in the league. When he gets hot, he's one of the best in the league, straight up. But when he plays like that, he's useless. So we need some consistency out of him. I need Drew Holiday to step up. The layups that he was throwing at the rim last night was unbelievably ridiculous. I have never seen anything like that. And he just kept going. Left-handed, hits the rim, left-handed, all backboard. I couldn't even fathom what I was watching last night, and he just kept going. And that was probably in the game plan. It was probably in the scheme. We need Drew to get going. That's why we got him here. He's got to be better than Bledsoe. But his shooting splits are almost an exact replica of Bledsoe in the playoffs. Yeah. So right now, obviously everyone knows I'm a huge Bucks fan, but there has to be some sense of reality here. I'm not panicking. We'll talk about predictions in a minute, but there needs to be some major changes and starting to show some consistency and a sense of urgency, because this isn't the Eastern Conference semifinals. This isn't the Eastern Conference finals. This is the NBA finals, and the Suns will step on your throat. They are 13-0 this postseason when they have a double-digit lead. Every time the Bucks went on a run last night, they would hit a timely shot. It's not just luck of the draw. This is what they do. They're well coached. If they get that lead, they're not going to give it back. So when it comes back to the Fiserv Forum, the Bucks need to hit first. And let's talk about that. Scott, you go first. Let's get a game 3 prediction.
For sure. A couple of things. As I said after game 1, the Suns still have room to be better as well as they played, in my opinion, in game 2. Ayton, as you mentioned, Luke, earlier, probably had his worst game of these entire playoffs thus far. And Chris Paul had an uncharacteristic 6 turnovers, which won't happen again. But as you just alluded to again, Luke, Phoenix, this is who they are at this point. They are 13-2 in their last 15 games. They have played the Milwaukee Bucks 4 times this season, and they're 4-0. But like I said after game 1, this series is not over, even after the Phoenix Suns are up 2-0. And in addition to that, the Suns have a small problem on their hands. They already lost Dario Saric to a torn ACL in game 1, and now it looks like they lost Torrey Craig. That's their 8th and 9th man off the bench. It looks like the Suns are going to have to run with 7 guys moving forward. They're starting 5 plus the 2 Cams, Cam Payne and Cam Johnson off the bench, because Frank Kaminsky can't play more than a couple minutes, more than the Thanasis Antetokounmpo role. He just can't play extended minutes, and that could be an issue. But in terms of game 3, I do expect the Milwaukee Bucks to win game 3. They have to. It's a must-win game. They're at their home court, and like I said, I was at the Eastern Conference semifinals, game 6. I know firsthand how rowdy that home crowd gets, and I can only imagine how it would be for Milwaukee's first, finals game in that city, and who knows how long. So I expect the Bucks to win because they really don't have much of a choice. And also, the Phoenix Suns haven't been great in game 3s this postseason. They lost game 3 to the Lakers. They lost game 3 to the Clippers. So I'd be shocked if the Phoenix Suns were able to win game 3 in Fiserv Forum.
I think you'll see a more complete Milwaukee team and actually play the way that they're supposed to be playing. They win at home in the first, like you said, Scott, first finals appearance in Milwaukee since '74. So I have the Bucks winning.
And so do I. We've been here before. All the players know it. We were down 0-2 to Brooklyn. We talked about this earlier in the show. No one gave us a chance, and the Bucks came through and won it in 7. We all know how that went. And I expect the same thing to happen here. When they come home and that energy gets going, they know the Deer District's out there. They got the stadium at full capacity. This city loves Milwaukee Bucks basketball, and the players thrive off of that energy. And they're going to do that again, and they're going to win both at home. And then it's going to go back to Phoenix, a 2-2 series. I predicted this before. I'm predicting it again, and it will happen. It's going to be an even series going back to Phoenix, and I fully expect the Milwaukee Bucks to win this one in 7 because once they get rolling at home, we've seen this cycle, they start rolling on the road. So this is far from over. Expect a great rest of the series. The Bucks will probably get it done in game 3, but that's all the time we have here today. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you here next week. From myself, Matt Morris, and Scott Procter, have a good weekend.